There it is. Okay.
We're live.
All right. Give it a second to get speed. All right. So, welcome everybody to Office Hours. Alex is not here today, but we're going to carry the torch. And he said he might even pop in a little bit later after his event is over. He was producing a secret event there on the West Coast. So, welcome everyone. Just to give you the rundown again, at 6 a.m. Pacific time, we start in and chit chat, and everybody joins in, and we'd like to welcome anyone who wants to join us here in the panel. If you've got good audio and video, jump on in, raise your Zoom hand when you get in, and we will admit you. And then around 6:40, we do a mic check to make sure everybody sounds good and looks good, and we're ready to roll. So we really want to welcome anybody who is interested in being a part of this group and feels like they have something to contribute or not, wants to maybe just ride along. It's fun to hang out. And then top of the hour, we'll start the show, and we'll talk about different things. Yeah, we'll start different things. We'll talk about different things during the week. For the next week or two, Alex has said we're going to kind of keep the agenda light. He's in a little bit of a crunch time, but then we'll reconvene with some special topics after a while. So anyway, let's see what else. The questions. We want to urge everybody and the attendees to ask questions, and the way you do that is go to Mukana. In the chat link for Zoom, there's a link to join Mukana. Mukana is our online chat tool and question asking tool. So get in there, nose around, find out where you ask questions, because this is really important for us to get a great show that has everybody represented in terms of what you're interested in talking about. We drive the show based on the questions, and you can even vote on the questions to make your questions go up higher than the ones that you're interested in. So please participate in that, because it makes it interesting for everybody. So we'll do that today. We've got quite a number of questions. And then the second hour, starting at 6, 7, 8 a.m. Pacific, which is 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to focus on education. So we'll have a few other folks join us typically on a Friday afternoon to talk about specific things related to media in education and teaching online and all these hybrid schools that are happening right now. A lot happening in that area. So I'm personally invested in that as well as a parent. So got a few things I'd like to talk about. All right, so we'll start here with the questions today. I'm going to start over here with a question from Lauren Strobe from Hermosa Beach. Any suggestions on a decent USB desktop microphone under $100? I would like to make an affordable recommendation to some teachers who prefer not to use a headset. So that's important, not to use a headset, because I think the immediate thing was for us to think about piles there. So Mr. Preto, what are your thoughts on that?
Out of the 472 mics that Paul has, I'm muted, right? Still?
No, you're not muted. I was muted. Sorry.
Oh, out of the 472 microphones that Paul Wallace has, he's got
That's too high, John. Too high. I don't have that many.
He's got an AT2020, which is, I believe, USB and XLR both. It's a great sounding mic, and it's $100.
Excellent. Mickey.
Yeah, there's the Rode NT USB. That's another option.
Excellent. Okay, that's a great mic. Yeah, Bill Davis.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that, yes, external microphones can be really useful for a lot of reasons, but sometimes these top of your computer USB cameras actually have a decent microphone built into them. And sometimes you can get away with just using that. So you might, as a teacher, if you don't have a lot of money, try what you have first. But if you need to go out to USB, then these are the recommendations.
Right. Courtney?
I agree. The Audio Technica, this is an ATR, has a USB plug in the bottom of it, ATR 2500. I think I paid about $89 for it. It's a large diaphragm condenser, and it sounds reasonably well.
Right. Lawrence?
Yes, it's first thing, John, can you repeat your recommendation? I somehow missed it. The first, John Preto.
Oh, where's your mic? Is it laying around? It's an AT2020, right?
No, you made a recommendation to me for that microphone, but I missed what you said.
This
So,
is the mic here. It's the ATR 2100. It's
Yeah.
you can see the connectors here. It's got a headphone connector. It has a SD card slot. It has a XLR slot, and of course the USB slot. It's like your Swiss Army knife of microphones.
So
There
it
you go.
records well, is that correct,
There
Paul?
you go.
So I was looking into the Rode NT-USB minis, but they're sold out everywhere, and I need about 15. I haven't tested it yet. There's a Fafine or Fifine, I don't know what it is. This is a $50 one. They have a $60 one too. I'll test it to see if it's an alternative, but I was wondering if somebody had a better idea.
We got a couple more, Jeffrey.
Actually, that's what I'm going to talk about right here. This is the Fafine podium microphone. And let me follow, there it is. So it's a dual gooseneck microphone. It's got a mute button and it's got a volume button on it. And out of all the podium microphones USB that I've reviewed, I like this one a lot.
And what's nice about that kind of a thing is the key to these non-ear set is you got to get close to them, and that kind of forces you to get really close to the mic, the little Richard Dawson stick style thing. That's very important. Sky.
I'm looking up. I got this from Amazon in the early days, and it was like $46. It also has the USB connection. You do have to self-charge it. It's got a volume knob on it. It's got, I don't know why, an echo, so you can do the best Courtney out there for 46. There we go. Best Spanish television out there. And an on-off switch, but you do have to be very close to it. That's why they give you a wind guard.
Right, Roscoe.
Can you guys put links to this stuff in the Mukana, please?
Yeah, looking it up.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's good. Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, Sky, I think that echo thing is for when you're running it on the CB radio.
Jesse.
Yeah, there's a big difference in sound quality between the Rode NT USB and the NT USB Mini. So the USB is a little bit more pricey, but it sounds a lot better. And I think Audio-Technica also just released a sort of gooseneck USB microphone maybe a few months ago or something. I'm not sure if it's hit the shelves yet.
Jeff Francis.
Yeah, those Audio-Technicas sound great, but the 2020 and the 2500 are, I think, like $130, $150. Everything's kind of jacked up in price a little bit over the last couple of months because of the demand for these mics.
Paul Shadwell.
I just wanted to clarify that Swiss Army knife and microphone are two different things. Don't mix them up.
Right. Don't get that one close to your face.
It was an analogy, purely an analogy, Paul.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, there's a setup that we were trying to put together for that under 350 challenge that Alex was mentioning for teachers. So ring light, USB camera, and then that Rode NT USB Mini. You can barely see.
So
it 'cause
when it's
so
that
dark.
far away, does it still pick up well?
So
that
that's the challenge is not only, so it has a 3/8 adapter and 5/8, so you can boom it up a little bit higher. So that's what I was also going to mention is these ones are out of stock everywhere, the $99 one, but for $169 you can get the Rode NT USB, which Jesse mentioned is a little bit better microphone. Actually, it's a lot better microphone. There's so much more detail because it's a larger capsule, and it does get up higher off the desk. The trouble with these and with teachers especially is they're bouncing stuff on the desk. So you want to really be thinking about that as well. I found with my kid, I wound up actually putting a boom mic over his head because every 20 minutes the teachers like take a break. And so they're running off. And so I can't imagine having a pile mic ripped off of a kid every 20 minutes and then put back on every 20 minutes, and they're not going to last. So you really want to be thinking about something that like that podium mic. Think through the whole flow.
Just for grins, Guy, can you itemize those tools that you on the picture?
I'm working on it. In fact, I set up 3 desks. So I took 3 of the same white desks, 3 laptops, 3 different ring lights, 3 different microphones, and I'm building it out to do 350, 500, over 1,000. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's just tough to to find everything. You know, like right now it's like, okay, I can recommend this, but nobody can get it. It's just like the
Right.
Rode NT USB Mini. There's none to be found in the
Right.
market.
I bet your kid would win an award for the best kitted out kid casting station for schools.
Well,
Yeah,
he'll
look at
probably
that.
kill me for showing this, but there he is right there with his little. That's a $200. I think
Love that.
$250. Yeah, and that's his
It's
little.
probably like
setup.
the cobbler's kids that don't have shoes.
Right. Yeah. So we're light on questions today, but there's no better way than to kill 20 minutes by asking people to recommend a microphone on this show. So we can just go around and around for a while on that, I think. Anyway, so I hope Lawrence that gives you some some direction on that. And if you strike out on any of that, come back, because I'm sure we can keep talking about it. So Philip Tesoro, I've got an event next week with some presenters pre-recording and producing their own video presentations. What is the best and easiest free video editing software available on Mac and Windows separately? He says, a note, I could probably edit a couple of their videos, but I'm expecting 22 submissions and would like to provide good options for them to do it on their own. Yeah, any hands raised here? I just recently did this with my son, 12-year-olds, on a Windows PC. And just wanted to get into video editing, and he downloaded DaVinci Resolve, and man, in like 2 days time, he was editing stuff, overlaying his voiceover soundtrack and throwing music into that. So it's a great piece of kit that's free. Blackmagic Resolve. Yeah. I'm sorry. DaVinci Resolve. Yeah. Bill Davis.
Obviously on the Mac, it's going to come with iMovie, and it's perfectly acceptable for those kind of things. In fact, it's a useful, good little program. So I dive into that on the Mac side.
Right. John Preto.
So we're doing this right now. We have 30 remote people, speakers coming in, and we're finding it easier to record via Zoom or Skype or some modality, even vMix call, than having them produced locally and then trying to upload that file somewhere. It's turning out to be a challenge.
So you're saying they're not editing, they're just going to upload the raw file.
They're calling to us, we're recording locally.
Right. Got it. Interesting. Yeah, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I do the same thing with a lot of the presentations. This is a question of whether you're doing a presentation for a professional type of situation that's going out, or if this is just like a challenge to get people to learn how to use editors and learn how to do this or that or the other thing. And that's a little bit unclear on what if that's where the question is pointed to. Yeah, Mac would be iMovie, and PC, there is an iMovie alternative. It's not great. And there is a way to actually do iMovie on a PC, but that involves putting on what's called an emulator, and it turns into a hassle.
Yeah. You got to have some pretty willing civilians to participate, to want to dive into video editing if they hadn't done it already. So we got a lot of hands here. Bill Davis.
Well, I was just going to note, it's the difference between buying a piano is easy, getting an NLE is easy, learning to play the piano is not easy. And that's what you have to do, is you learn to use any editing. It's the skills, not the tool. But yeah, Windows Movie Maker, Windows used to come with that, and Macs used to come with that. I went there because it's no cost, and it exists for you probably already.
Right. Courtney.
Movie Maker is long gone, but people don't realize this, but the Photos app that comes in all versions of Windows 10 can actually edit video. It's simplistic cuts only editing, but it is set. You can upload to H.264 to YouTube or Facebook from
Great.
there.
Yeah, Mike Burns.
Hey, so I want to back or the same thing that Bill said about iMovie. I used to teach workshops at the Apple Store, and I was amazed how quickly people could pick it up. And also, if they're just starting out, some great tutorials on YouTube. Obviously, free tutorials. One of my favorite is a guy named Izzy. If you do Izzy Video, I found his tutorials to be like some of the best out there for iMovie.
Yeah, great. Sky?
Yeah, I'll second that on Izzy. He's been around since day one, and he does a lot of very good tutorials out of Phoenix. I was going to say that I'm doing a deeper dive with this Luma Touch. It's not free, but for $20 some for an iPad experience, I fortunately have live in the same town as the designer, so I'm going to be doing a deeper dive, and we'll report back.
Fun. Roscoe.
Izzy's not free anymore, but we did get to watch his kids grow up, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Kev. Oh, man. Oh, geez.
You're muted, Kev.
And you can find that on the latest build, I believe, 2004. But it features music, motion, special effects, and all sorts of extra bits and bobs. It's all brand new.
Thanks, guys.
I'm free.
I'm just experiencing a technical difficulty on my end. But Paul, go ahead.
Paul, you're muted as well.
Okay, I must have got muted. It's on Lightworks on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it's got some great tutorials. You can edit while you're importing new content. It has speed optimization, multicam editing for syncing clips from multiple cameras, real-time team project sharing, and so on. And it's free in all platforms.
Great. Jeffrey?
Yeah, WeVideo is the same way. You can do a lot of sharing. They have a freemium model, which you do very basic editing, and then the first price plan's about $4.99 a month, and it does a great job in that. They've been around for a while.
What is that called?
WeVideo. I got the link in the
WeVideo.
chat.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike Burns. Yep, we'll wrap it up.
$400 or $4.99?
$4.99. $4.99.
Wow.
Yeah, so what I also wanted to add is that lynda.com is available through my local library for free. And if Spokane Library, and I guess that Lynda got bought out by, someone help me out.
LinkedIn.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
So yeah, through the local library, you can get tutorials there as well.
Yeah. And you know, Philip, I'm sort of following your comments in Mukana as well, and maybe this video editing is sort of a way to get. It looks like you said you don't have a lot of time or resources. You know, it could be the kind of thing where maybe you just urge them to get it right, like turn on Zoom and have them record and sit there and just do it once. You know, get it right perfectly one time in a record rather than trying to learn video editing. It depends on what they're presenting, of course. But, you know, maybe urge them to practice, and then just do one quick recording with you or something like that. You know, as opposed to learning a whole new tool, just to, you know, it depends, of course, on what you're presenting. Courtney, go ahead.
Yeah, one thing you might run into a problem with them recording locally is how they're going to submit it, because if they're going to try and email it to you, the file may be too big to attach to an email, and if they don't have a Dropbox that's public, or a YouTube channel or a Facebook channel where they can post it and you can pull it down to edit it, and you can't, and it's difficult to pull down from YouTube, it might be kind of tricky unless you set up a Dropbox box for them to all deposit in.
Yeah. It could become a Pandora's box that you don't want to open.
That's usually the biggest problem I have in getting, video files back and forth between people, is they can, people don't know what to record in. They record in uncompressed, and it can be, 4.5 gigabytes or something.
Yeah. Jeff Francis?
Along those lines, be careful with YouTube, Courtney, not only because it's sometimes difficult to download from there, but it's done compression. So then if you're editing that with other things, you'd rather have the original raw file, but unless, of course, they recorded, 100 gigabytes.
Great. All right, Sky, we're going to wrap it up.
I would record them personally, schedule it throughout the day, and then edit it myself, because that's what I know how to do. And that's what they know how to do, is talk. They don't need to know how to push a lot of buttons. They just need to learn how to speak into a lens. So that's option 12.
Billy, you have some issues on your side. Do you want me to read questions?
No, we're good. We're good. No, I had, it's a can of words. Somebody else had my Zoom password and they were trying to start up a meeting, and that was going to, no.
Understood.
That teaches me a lesson from trying to share my Zoom password sometimes. Actually, what I want to try to do now, just for fun, next question is John Preto. John, read your question.
Where is it? Let me see. Did you already grab it so I can't see it anymore? The gist of the question was, unless you pushed it in the chat.
No, it's in Mukana now.
Okay, yeah. So we have we're empowering all this talent. I'm probably really hot right now, right?
Just short question.
And so somebody that's moving around, a dancer or an ASL performer, needs to have both wireless microphone and wireless IEMs. So Mickey, what's the not the Alex, but maybe
IEM meaning in-ear microphones. So a wireless in-ear microphone.
monitors.
Monitor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would say about a half of Alex, Mickey.
Ooh. Do you
Per
have
or
any
for
other?
both?
Half of Alex for both.
Ooh.
You've got the Rode Go on one side. You could do 2 Rode Go's though, right?
Yeah, I would just be wary about the Rode Go's because in a live setting they don't have replaceable batteries, so you really have to be on the ball in terms of keeping them charged up.
Is there one battery pack that does both? One body pack that does both
Probably
that you've
rig
ever seen?
something up, but probably nothing out of the box. Yeah.
No, you
Yeah.
actually have 2 wireless loops. You've got one going from the Talus microphone to but then you need to feed back what is essentially an IFB, an interruptible foldback. It doesn't
Right.
have to be interruptible, it just has to be
John,
live. So you got 2 full systems.
It's real consumer, but Sony makes a little lipstick device that has both ways, and it's both a microphone and a return feed. I forget the name of it right now, and I've never used it, but I watched a
are those
video.
the ones that are linked up to? I think they have to pair with a Sony camera. I think I've seen that.
No.
In the past.
There's a pack. There's a receive pack, but it's a discrete system, wireless. But I get the sense it's real consumer, but it's also probably real affordable too.
Ed has his hand up.
Yeah, who go Sky?
Oh, okay. I think somebody else
Ed.
as well.
Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say, could something like Unity Intercom be useful here, where you can just run an earbud from a phone and do it that way? Get a desktop client if you need a program in with Dante Virtual Sound Card, so that you can feed them whatever the program feed is, and then it's wireless. It fits in their pocket and just uses a standard earbud for their phone.
Right, Sky.
So 2 sets of the Rode Go's could be your solution. One for the audio going out, one for the audio going in. Mickey's concerned about the battery life. I have one set. They've lasted me up to 3 hours as long as they're fully charged. If you needed to, I guess you could put a little portable battery pack in that kit, strap it onto their back or into a strap or something. That's a thought. But yes, you can use a Rode Go as a in-ear solution, possibly.
Yeah, Paul Wallace.
Okay, got you here. This is what Canon makes. It's really cool, and it uses like a little. Both of these have one of these, and it's like a two-way communications and a wireless microphone. Let me see if you can
that's
get a
what
good
the
shot
Sony
of
thing
that.
is too. Yeah. Have you? So what's the quality like on that, Paul?
Pretty decent. I've used it and for YouTube videos, and it's not bad at all.
Is it 2.4 gigahertz? Do you know where it is in the
Oh,
wireless?
boy.
And what's the receiver look like?
Wireless microphone WM-V1. This is the, let's see, what does it say here? It should say.
I put the link for the Sony one in Mukana there.
Yeah, I'll post something. It uses these batteries too. It uses the, AAAs.
Yeah.
And
Jeff
it
Francis.
has a nice case. See this case on it? I'll peel this off so you can see it better if I can get it off. But see, this is they both look the same.
Yeah.
Both
Put a link in Mukana, Paul. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Jeff Francis.
Yeah.
John, did you say that these are dancers or are they?
Dancers, ASL performers, magicians, all of the above.
So are they like hearing music tracks in their IEM?
They're hearing comms basically.
Okay.
Yeah,
So latency not an issue, or because
I
the
was gonna
Bluetooth
comment
and the
that
Unity
with,
systems will have a lot of
exactly.
latency.
That's what I was gonna say as well.
Yeah. Jeffrey.
Yeah, I was gonna allude to that too. If you're talking about dancers, something like this system will end up flying out of somebody's ear and then they won't be able to find it ever again. And trying to get as little wire as possible is the important thing. And then dual battery packs for somebody dancing, that's just going to be a pain. If you're talking a magician, you could definitely do a dual pack. But yeah, with somebody that needs to keep as flexible as possible, that's not going to work. The one you were talking about, the Sony Bluetooth ones right here, they are Bluetooth, so they need a more direct line of sight. And I don't think they make this anymore. I think you have to buy it secondhand. So yeah, they've mostly because this is Bluetooth 4 and the Bluetooth 5 specification is out. It works a lot better on Bluetooth 5, but you're still talking about line of sight,
right? Which may be okay depending on their studio or whatever. Bill Davis.
Yeah, I just think whatever you go through, buy a sample and check it, because one of the things talked about with the GoPro or the Go little packs was that if your body got between the receiver and the transmitter, it would have dropout issues for a little bit. People were recommending all the time, put them on your side so it's more direct line of sight. So if somebody's spinning and dancing, that may be a recipe for dropouts.
Jeff Francis.
John, how many sets of these at once do you need?
We'll have probably in one show, probably 10 different performers.
Okay, the Rode Go is 8 sets at once, so that's 4 people.
But they're not in the same room. They're all performing from their house.
Oh, gotcha. And then the other option is to rent professional wireless and professional in-ear. Sennheiser, Shure.
I've got the Shure Accent here, but I don't want to bring my Rode case out to somebody's house, right? And then they have to have 2 packs on.
Yeah. But it'll work.
For sure. Yeah. Okay.
And they're small. They're just that big.
Hey,
Mickey,
John,
next
time I see you, John, on Zoom and on the off hours, I'll hook it up and you can hear what it sounds like.
Thanks, Paul.
Great. Yep. Okay, Mickey, and then we'll finish this up.
Yeah, for the in-ear monitor solution, you could also go with the FM transmitter route. You can buy these little FM transmitters and also little FM radios that can tune to it. A lot of these are used for in museums for tours and all that. Assistive listening devices, I think sometimes they're called. But of course, fidelity isn't great, but just for getting things to beat when they're dancing, it should be sufficient. For microphones, yeah, I'd be hard pressed to recommend something within the budget.
Right.
That at least would be reliable enough for a live show, a live broadcast.
Preto, let us know what you end up with, man.
Guy had his hand up though. Could I hear real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. There's some wireless from Sony that actually has a headphone out as well. So what you want to be aware of is the Rode Go and some of these these receivers were not meant to push a headphone driver inside. So you want to be aware of the ohms because there's lightweight in-ear monitors that can take a signal and it'll be loud in their ears. But if you put on like a pair of big headphones, those drivers are so big that it'll soak up all that energy and it'll appear very low. So you want to be aware of the ohms when you're looking at it. And the Sony knockoffs, I'm not going to name any brands, but they're out there for the budget that you're looking for. Maybe I'll ping you in Discord. I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to recommend stuff publicly that
Cool.
I don't think is that great.
Okay, good. All right. Well, let us know how you do, John. All right. So Tony Mobley asks, how many panelists that are using ATEMs are also using software like OBS or mimolive? Anyone using both? Yeah, Jeffrey?
Yeah. There's no other question than that. So yes.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you're looking to do, and I'm assuming probably roll in videos and titling and things like that maybe you're trying to do with OBS, but it's possible, absolutely. Paul.
Yeah, I use vMix, and where's Leland when we need him?
Right, Leland. Hope he's working and making some coin. Good. Jeff Francis.
I would say it's an either or for me. I either have the ATEM Mini and doing all the switching there in hardware, or I'm completely software based with OBS.
I'm the same way. By the way, has anyone got the ATEM update? Software 8.5 looks like it's got some. It looks like it solves some sync issues or some potential sync issues. I don't know if it does anything else. I haven't installed it yet, but apparently it is out. So check that out. All right. John Puitt from Huntersville. Recommendations for a budget overhead cam. I want to show my desktop from above, but don't have big budget. Need HDMI. Jeff, I think you're the guy that's got this one this week. He found the $150 HDMI camera, right?
This is by MoKOS, MoKOSE. $164 for the HDMI USB webcam. It can do one mode or the other. I'm using the USB mode right now, and we found it's a little desaturated. The HDMI looked better. They do have some cheaper HDMI cams that go down around $100, but just Google. I'll
That'd
put
make
the
an
MoKOS
excellent
site on
overhead
there.
cam, I think. It's
Yes.
a good find. Yeah, Roscoe.
Yeah, and that MoKOS comes with different lens sets on it. So I would, if you want multiple uses for it, get the zoom lens. Otherwise, Jeff, which lens set do you recommend?
I got the one that is the variable because it is a CS mount. So I haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to try mounting some other little CS lenses on here.
Cool.
Most
Jeffrey.
of their other ones are all zoom or fixed, but not replaceable lenses.
Great. Jeffrey?
There are some action cams. You can find them all over Amazon. And I'm not, once again, like with Guy, I'm not going to show any models, specific models, because I haven't done any testing on them. But some of them will have the mini HDMI or micro HDMI plugs, and you'll be able to not only power but also plug. And then you'll use some sort of simple arm to put them up onto a ceiling or up onto a stand or something like that, and they work really well.
Great. And Stephen?
And like the MoKOS, one of the things to do with that is you can put them on microscopes because of the CS mount.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know. And I would presume telescopes and such as well, right?
Yep,
Paul?
that's what that CS mount's really for. But
yeah.
Thanks. The huddle cam, I don't know, Guy might comment on that, but the huddle cam might make a pretty good overhead cam. And that's what I'm on right now. I'm on the huddle cam.
Nice. Good. Yeah, Guy?
Yeah, the ADA imaging stuff is pretty cool. They're really small. This is actually what we use ourselves, is these little ADA cameras, and they do have interchangeable lenses. They're kind of like those C-mount lenses. Well, they are. They're not kind of like, they are, that Jeff was recommended on the security cameras. So I'd take a look at the ADA imaging site and see what you
Is
can
the price
find.
similar on those?
What price were we talking?
150, 160?
No, this is more in the $500 range. Sorry.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the huddle cam, though, the downside is that it doesn't have enough reach. So the zoom's not going to be there, depending on how overhead is overhead to you. If it's a cooking show, yeah, you might want something with a little more zoom.
Unless you're cooking like a whole pig. Right. Bill Davis.
So the Canon Vixia also, it may be a little touch more than that, 160, 150. That's my release cam up there that sits there if I need a wide shot of my office. So it's a decent picture. They're simple and Canon, so there's tons of them out there. So that just sits there all day long for me.
Nice. Okay, Roscoe?
Yeah, and don't be afraid of the used market either. I mean, there's some Vixia stuff that's, dates back that has HDMI out that are great lenses.
Right. Yeah. Those, go dig in the basement for your old camcorders. Those are all still valid. Generally have 2 or 3 of those in the basement for sure. Okay. Yeah, Paul.
Okay. Yes, I actually have.
Oh, that Paul.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This Paul.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is, I think in the US they call it a Vixia. So this view is actually from one of those cameras.
Yeah.
It's a 4K. Yeah.
Good.
Handycam.
Very nice. Okay.
I'm just a little distracted right now. Go back to that shot, Paul.
Yeah,
go back to the cat.
Yeah.
That's kind of special.
That's good.
Wow.
Lawrence.
Yes, I did a cooking show a few years ago. I was trying to find the cameras, but I went with the Marshall cameras. They're very similar, small cameras with the lens you can buy. They're quite affordable. They have HDMI out. These are the ones they use at the basketball hoops, at the little cameras that are on the basketball games, on the hoop cams. It's very similar, but they are very good quality. I was very impressed with them. Marshall.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, Anyone else? We're going to finish this one up and move along.
I just wanna
Okay.
say one more note on that one is
Yep,
just
go
be
ahead.
aware of your rigging too, because as you start to get maybe an older camera that's heavy, now all of a sudden you got to buy like, you know, $150, $200 in rigging, or you got to risk that thing falling. So don't forget safety cables and safety straps. And
first.
just the size of something is a big deal.
Good point.
Cooking
Thank
with
you, Guy.
cameras or cooking the camera.
Okay, Jeff, read your question here. Jeff Francis.
Let me find my mute button. I'm looking for a Windows OS equivalent to macOS QuickTime for the purpose of people just doing a simple record of their webcam microphone for a presenter to check themselves before they come into a Zoom meeting. If they could actually do a complete recording and make a file and trim the heads and tails, that would be great. I'd love for it to just be included in the OS, be free and easy, but I am a Mac person and not so versed in Windows. So what is the
QuickTime for
Windows included?
What are the recommendations? Doug Ferguson.
NDI Studio Monitor is free, and you can record both audio and video with it. So
Can you trim with that?
you'd have to put that in a software to edit it, but at
Jeffrey
least you can get the recording.
Jeff Powers.
Sorry, I was trying to look it up, but OBS, it's also free, and you'll be able to record. I'm not sure if it can record. You said QuickTime, so I'm wondering if you're talking if you want to create .mov files.
You said
over
equivalent to
MP4s.
QuickTime, but I don't. Jeff, you're not specifically trying to make a QuickTime file, right?
Nope.
No.
First purpose is just record and watch yourself, and second purpose is to provide that video to someone who can transcode it.
Then the cool thing about OBS is, and I haven't done it in a while, but I know you can do it, is that you can put a delay on the audio and the video, like a 2 or 3 second delay. I do this in Wirecast all the time when I'm testing my audio, is to, and then you can say something, and then after about 3 or 4 seconds, it comes back to you. So that becomes very helpful.
Nice. Courtney.
I can't pull it up and try it right now because I've got my camera tied to Zoom. But the camera app it comes in every version of Windows 10. Just search for camera, and you bring that up, and it'll show you it'll bring up your USB camera and be able to record something for you. I believe it does recording. So give
Great.
that. It's free and there already.
Guy.
Courtney really likes
just
the
Zoom
camera app.
itself. Zoom itself will allow you to record. I mean, I've done it. It looks okay. I mean, the codec is going to squash down, but if you're just looking at something for teachers for framing purposes, color and that kind of thing, yeah, just Zoom itself.
Right.
I don't know as you can trim in Zoom, but you can at least get the clip made. The other thought is if they're doing any YouTube videos, you can trim in YouTube, do an unlisted recording of yourself, a webcam of
That's
yourself.
right. Yeah.
You can trim the heads and the tails and then create a single file.
Cool. Didn't there used to be a QuickTime for Windows, I believe? I think there used to be, yeah.
Yeah, Apple pulled the plug on it about 2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, good.
About the time ProRes showed up, they got rid of it.
Right. All right, next question, Michael Watkins from Richmond, Virginia. Recommendations on a USB adapter to plug in 3.5 millimeter analog headphone earbuds with built-in microphone. I think you call that TRRS. Needs to work on Windows and Mac. Note USB-A, not USB-C. Preto, you had a little something, right? No?
I wasn't paying attention, Phil.
Sorry, no worries.
I'm reading the question right now.
Yeah. The little dongle, I think, is what he's asking about, or a 3.5 millimeter dongle. Bill Davis.
I don't remember the brand name, but that's exactly what Alex was talking about putting in his kit in the early days. It's a little USB-A that has a earphone and there you go. Courtney has one that's printed up. So Courtney,
no, they're looking for one with a single connector rather than two connectors.
This has that. The center one there, it has 3 connectors, and the middle one is a combo TRRS headset and earpiece for gamers. And this controls your headphone volume only. The microphone is not.
Right. Same.
I gave Phil time to find the little one.
Yeah, this is the little one I think John had on his little cheat sheet.
That's a Sabriant, but that's separate inputs for microphone.
Right.
Yeah, so the Sabriant does not fit what he's asking for.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's combined onto one.
Courtney, what's the model of that?
This is a, if I can get my wells to work, Plextone MI2 or M12.
Maybe you could put a link in the Mukana for that, or Lawrence.
GS3, I think it's called. Yeah.
So I used both of these recommended adapters and I could not make it work on different machines. I don't know what it was on my audio chain, and I almost gave up on the piles, and I spent days trying it.
Oh, really?
And then I finally
into this.
Yeah, the pile with those, I didn't have enough gain, and then I ended up buying the Audio Technica. It sold out, that I mentioned yesterday. I'll put a link in the notes in a little bit, and it worked flawlessly without any adjustments. So I'm very happy with that one. It has a mute button, it has a volume control, and it's just plugged into my keyboard right now. It even works that way, which is very convenient because that's where you want the cable to be. So,
right.
But they're sold out everywhere. So
okay, all right, Vipul. Yeah, which.
This is the TRRS one, and it has an input for the microphone as a mono, so you don't need to juggle around with any connector or anything. And it has all the 3 connectors there, so it's easy, whatever. And it has an extension, so it doesn't block any ports on your computer as well.
Nice, very nice. Bill Davis.
I think one of the things to look at searching for is gaming headset adapters, because that's what gamers do. They want to be able to talk and monitor at the same time through one connection, and they're very much into the USB connected space. So I do some searching on that to find alternate.
Excellent. Okay, good. All right, moving on to the next question here from Peter Collins Vale. What is this storyboarding thing? When and how? For big projects or small too? Do I have to be an artist? What tools and apps do you use? A lot of questions there, Peter, but we're going to answer them. Just the one thing I would say, it sounds like you're maybe being a little sarcastic. You probably know what storyboarding is, but I would say in general, if you're working with a team of people, you will save a lot of time and money with a storyboard, because it's going to answer a lot of these sort of unasked questions about how many people am I going to see in the shot? What's the camera angle basically going to be? And all of those things. And if you really intend to run a production and really follow a very prescribed sequence of shooting, a storyboard will be very, very helpful, even if it's stick figures and no drawing ability at all. So that's my version of it. We'll go around the ring. Sky.
The most recent Mad Max magazine did not have a script until they had to ensure the IP, intellectual property. It was completely storyboarded, and it was giving the vision from the director's head into all of the other crew that have to make the vision happen. So it's a comic book, effectively.
Exactly. Yep. Stephen Kimbrough.
Yeah, one of the things that really helps you do is you have everything storyboarded out, so you have all your locations, so you can shoot stuff way out of sequence. So it's like everything that has to happen in a spot, you do it all at one time. Then you just have to worry about night and day, but it's all documented in the storyboard.
Right. And to that point, a variation of that is strip boards. You might look up strip boards, and that's sort of an old-fashioned way of line producing films and so forth. Bill Davis.
Yeah, these are visualization tools that have traditionally been used forever in the movie business to get everybody on the same page to decide what you're going to do, because it's so expensive on a movie set to be out there burning dollars, millions of dollars in some cases. I would say that my practices have totally changed. We used to hire artists and get them to do storyboards, or I would try to hand pencil it myself. But now we have these great cameras in our phones, and my standard now is to go out, take my camera to the location I'm going to be shooting in, visualize the shot I want, take a picture of it, then bring that in, put it into Keynote or something like that, and then add text and make that the storyboard, because I don't need an artist, I have a camera. And so it's an alternate option.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, Roscoe.
Those are called animatics. When you go out and take a picture, so just so you know, they are storyboards, and they're used exactly. And that would have been my recommendation too. Take your phone out there, and while you're taking your phone out there, you can have maps or apps like Magic Cinema that actually mimic the camera you're going to shoot with, so you can see it actually, and do your settings and stuff, and take photos with the actual lenses that you're going to use too.
In the actual locations, yeah.
Unless, of course, your story takes place in outer space, and then it's hardly enough.
Yep. Kev, you got a thought on that? You're muted, Kev. You're muted. Well, you're still muted. I think you double tap there. You're still muted. One more
I've got
time.
you now.
There you
Okay,
go.
I'll try again. It depends on the program or the film that you're making, and of course, what budget you've got. It doesn't specify what kind of program he's making. When I've had to do very technical scientific programming, then I will use a storyboard, because often there's a technique in whatever it's I'm filming that has to be shot in a specific way, in a specific order. But ordinarily, I would avoid using storyboards unless the program requires it. And that, of course, all depends on what he's doing with this thing.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Mike Burns.
All right. So my wife and I have worked in production for years, and she's always given me a world of grief every time I went out on a shoot without storyboards. I would always have just a shot sheet. And I have to say, Werner Herzog, I watched his masterclass, and he basically said that storyboards for pussies. So I like
All right.
that.
Clean show. Clean show. Yep. All right. Roscoe.
Yeah, when anytime you're dealing with a crew that you're not familiar with, storyboards are tremendously helpful. I deal with students, and so to actually have a visual representation of what we want them to bring back from the field is invaluable. So it's a communication tool, and if you need to communicate, use a storyboard.
Right, Sky?
Yes, and I also watched the Werner Herzog, created my own opinions about him and his art, and just because he said it doesn't mean it's the right tool for everybody. There's my opinion about his opinion.
All right. All right. We got some opinions on that opinion. All right. Next, we're going to speed it up just a tad. John Put, good Final Cut Pro tutorials, trying to learn how to use it. Had it for a year and just not getting the most of it. So anybody got, I think the first thing I would say is come back here when we have Steve Bayer on the line. That's an awesome Final Cut Pro tutorial. Or actually, I think we've got some of those up on the YouTube channel, and you can check that out. Those are for tips and tricks. Anybody have any ideas for just good old tutorials? Bill Davis.
Well, I think everybody in the community of Final Cut users kind of acknowledges that the Ripple training is probably the class. Now, you do have to pay for it, but it's well structured, well thought out. Both Steve and Mark truly understand the program at a deep level and know how to teach it. There are plenty of other resources out there. The one thing that I just caution everybody, if you're coming from another editing system, particularly if you've been in it for a long time, whether that's Avid or Premiere or whatever, you do have to go through this moment where you have to kind of deconstruct a good little bit of your instinct, because it thinks about construction of video in a slightly different way. It kind of seduces you to think, well, it's timeline. I know how to use timelines. I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm just going to go in and do that. But if you drive it the same way you drove your old NLE, you will lose a ton of the efficiency, because it does swap some parts of the assembly process. And the most powerful aspects of it, like the keyword logging system and those kind of things that are really plumbed into its whole design, if you don't use those, you're just handcuffing yourself. So that's my 2 cents about coming into learning Final Cut.
Okay, Mike Burns.
Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, Ripple training was amazing. I always, Mr. Martin, is hysterical. Years ago, I used to go to the Final Cut user groups in LA, and he was just awesome. And also want to put in a plug for Larry Jordan. I always found his stuff to be really nice. I don't know if he's got a VO. I don't know if he's ever done VOs before, but he's very easy to listen to. And I think he's pretty knowledgeable on everything Final Cut and everything Apple.
Yeah, just stick with it. Roscoe.
Yeah, there's really 2 types of training in my mind, and that's just-in-time training, which is I'm working on a project and I need to just learn something, and you can go research for it. Ripple training, breaks their stuff down in different categories, audio. And then the other kind is there are people now that are posting entire projects they're editing, the actual, screenshots of their editing thing while they're working on it. They're long, and they take a long time to sit through, but you learn a lot just looking over someone's shoulder and watching exactly what they do.
That's true. Jeff Francis.
I've always found when I'm learning a new tool, a new piece of software, the best thing I can do is commit to doing a project in that tool. And that forces me to come up against things rather than trying to learn abstractly. I dive in, and as I run across each roadblock, that's the time to go to Roscoe's just-in-time training, find how to solve that problem, move on to the next one. Obviously, don't do that with something mission critical and something that has a hard deadline, but if you don't force yourself to actually commit to complete a project in the tool, you'll never learn the tool.
Yeah, have an assignment for sure. Bill Davis.
Sorry about that. I was muted. If you want to do it that way, if you want to watch somebody edit, Sven Papa, who's famous, did a series called This Guy Edits, where he literally edits a movie on Final Cut Pro 10, and he takes you in and explains every step of what he's doing. And it's fascinating if you want to learn that way.
Excellent. Courtney?
Just another shout back to the lynda.com. I just looked, search for Final Cut Pro X on lynda.com. It's LYNDA if you're looking for it, by the way.
Yeah.
There was 6,419 results for Final Cut Pro X. So there's courses, over 6,000 courses on lynda.com for Final Cut Pro X. And you can get your first month free. So you could sign on for a month and get free courses.
Nice.
And browse those 6,000.
Okay. Sky.
Well, I've been editing since NLEs began and Avid 101, and we're still learning. Plus, also the tools continue to change. And what's the right tool? It's the one in your hand. And so, to Bill's point and to Jeff's point, it's art in some ways, it's technology in other ways. So, learn something new every day and find fellow geeks that can help you.
Right. And ask questions here. Jeffrey Powers.
It depends on what first of all, it depends on what you're planning to use Final Cut Pro for, because if you're going to be doing some regular cut editing to HD video, that's one thing. If you're going to be doing some 3D rendering off of Final Cut Pro, that's another thing. The Lynda is great. All of those usually have like a free week or two trial, or maybe even a month's trial. Going to the library, as was suggested before, because there'll also be books there. If you're more of a book person than a video person, then that's a good way to do it. And then there was one more thing, but I completely just spaced out what that was.
And you think of it, throw it in the chat. Yeah. No worries. Thanks, John, and stick with it. Just get an assignment, stick with it. You'll be fine. It's a good program to invest your time into. All right, Jeff, we got another one here. You want to ask it again? Mr. Francis.
Sure thing. Let me just get my, so Hyperdeck Studio Mini. I want to set it to single playback mode. So basically it plays through a video file when I press play and stops at the end. It does not continue on to other video files.
Yeah, so
what's the secret sauce?
I think that's the default behavior. And unless you have the little loop setting, here, I'll even show you.
It was not the default when I had two video files on the card.
So I've got, let's see, what am I camera for here? Here's my thing. So you're looking at this panel right here, and you hit play, and this is the only thing that'll keep it looping. And I've got two clips going here, and if I play that clip, you can see what's going on there. It'll just stop at the end. You don't see the output of it, but it won't. Let's see. All right, hit play. And you can see it's counting down. Let's see if I scrub it. I'm not demoing this well. But what you're saying is it would just go on to the next one automatically.
I think your behavior that you're showing is correct when you're doing it from the ATEM software.
Right.
But if you press play on the front panel of the actual Hyperdeck, it will continue on. And I'm wondering if there's a setting somewhere I'm missing.
Yeah, I've never really operated it from the front panel, I got to say. That's interesting. Anyone else? I don't see any hands up here. I'll do that. Yeah, Roscoe?
Actually, I just was going to tag on this question. Is anyone pursuing the Hyperdeck Pi? That project that's going on? It looks really cool. You basically take a Pi and turn it into a Hyperdeck.
Well, somebody showed the software yesterday where it's, I didn't think it was just Pi. I thought it was just anything Hyperdeck playback.
It runs on a Pi though. You need a Pi to run it.
It's not, okay, interesting. I didn't know
I'll pursue it.
Yeah, I know we
into
talked about it, I think yesterday. I believe this is the same thing we talked about. I'm not sure. Lawrence?
I think it ran in a.
Yeah, for now it ran. Sorry,
Lawrence.
go ahead, Roscoe. Oh, for now it runs on a Pi only, but he's making a Windows version, and he wants to make a Mac version, but he has no access to a Mac,
I got you.
computer to compile it.
Yeah, Courtney,
so
were you?
Looks very promising.
Yeah, were you saying?
Maybe I'm confused. I thought it ran with a web interface, but maybe on the Pi, but maybe it's native to the Pi only.
Yeah, yeah. Jeffrey's showing it
Linux
there.
Roscoe, do you need a display on the Pi, or do you just use a web into the Pi?
There's an HDMI out into an ATEM is how I was looking at it.
For the video playback, but what about control?
No, I think you just talk to it like you would, over however you connect it, USB, I assume.
Yeah.
The control actually goes HDMI into the ATEM, and then you'll see the and I think the USB it'll run like the Hyperdeck.
Oh, right.
So you'll go to the Hyperdeck settings
in your control right.
Yeah, that's over. Hyperdeck control is over network Ethernet. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lawrence.
Yeah, if I understood it correctly, so the HDMI goes to your ATEM, and then from another machine you can connect through a web browser address to a network address to control it.
Right. Nice. It's a great idea. I didn't even think that would be possible, but but getting back to your original questions, Jeff, I'll test that on my and see if it behaves differently. I understand what you're trying to do there. Yeah, Jeffrey.
The other thing is that they also say that you can use OBS for that to do the recording, but keep in mind that's not a Raspberry Pi because OBS doesn't run on an ARM chip. You need to have an Intel chip, so you'd have to have a desktop with an Intel or an AMD chip to run OBS. I'm also going to try it on a Jetson, NVIDIA Jetson, because it's got a little bit more oomph than a Raspberry Pi does.
Yep. All right, just point of procedure here. I'm going to kind of just keep going into the next hour with the extra questions we've got, since we don't have a lot of education questions. So we'll just keep rolling. So EJ Steele from Phoenix, Arizona, what recommendations exist for in-ear monitors? Half Alex budget, half Alex in-ear monitors. I think we've gone through this. We got some. Yeah, Mickey.
Yeah, half Alex. So that's $350 US. To take a look at the Shure SE 535 or the 425. These ones are the 425. The 535 is around I think $350 US for the non-clear ones. The clear ones are more expensive for some reason.
Yeah, Bill Davis.
I just think it's important to understand the use case here, because if you're monitoring music, you're a musician, you're going to want one level of things. If you're doing kind of what we do with IFB or TalkBack or monitoring a show, I have a totally different thing. I'm using a security monitor earbud, which is fine for voice, but I wouldn't go anywhere near a music performance with it. So, and if you want to go all the way, almost all audiologists will do custom ear molds for you and put in whatever drivers you want to buy. If you want to go to the top end and get the best system for you for monitoring anything, that's kind of the Cadillac approach.
Yeah. Yep, Mickey.
Yeah, but if you're gonna get custom ear molds, I find that it might as well be a more a set of earbuds that require a bit more of an investment, because like getting ear molds, on the low end, they're at $300 US. So
you're gonna be spending a lot more on the ear mold than the driver.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Yeah, Jeffrey.
There's also with in-ears, you have what's called drivers inside there, and you can have a 2-driver system, a 3-driver system, up to, I think 5 is the most I have. This is the ones I have on Amazon, the CCA C10s, and they're supposed to be 5 drivers. I've actually heard sounds at about 19 kilohertz, which is really weird because I didn't think I would hear anything over 13, 14 being a drummer. And I can definitely hear some high-end sounds. It's really weird. It sounds like it's coming over a mountain when you do a regular tone set to it. But I use these all the time when I'm doing any type of monitoring of audio. So that's, and the price is way past half an Alex.
Yeah, yeah. Neat. Interesting. I've always wanted to try that ear mold thing. I'm really interested in that. Yeah, Mike? No, Mike? He's just scratching his head, I think. No?
No, okay, sorry.
There he is.
So those CCA10s, do you think they would be good for voiceover? Because my wife is looking for some, and she normally uses cans, and she's been watching Alex, and she said, "Oh, I need something better."
I wouldn't be surprised if this was a company that was commissioned to make something for one of the big names, and they decided, okay, well, this stuff isn't patented, this stuff isn't patented, so here's how we can make our own to avoid all of that. So that's usually how a lot of that's made. Guy was talking about the microphones that that were not Sony but were knockoffs. That's basically how they get to that, because they have those extra technologies. They just put it together.
Yep, Bill Davis.
Well, since we're just chatting about this too, the whole concept of monitoring, there's a few things that you get into these internet discussions about, no, these headphones are better than those, and I want something that's perfectly flat, and I need to be able to hear the entire symphony and stuff like that. One of the sets of earphones that has been persistently at the top of a lot of lists are the Sony 7506s. And people say, so that's great, they're really flat. And the point is, I don't think they're actually very flat. They're very close to it, and they have all frequencies, but they also have kind of a noticeable little presence peak right around where the human voice is, which makes them extraordinarily useful if you're monitoring dialogue. It cuts through, and you can hear people's problems in speech and things like that. And so that to me is more valuable. I've been on 7506s for so much of my career that I am now mentally, I can understand what I'm listening to. I can hear words clearly, but I don't take them home and listen to music on them, because that's not the function I'm doing with that set of headphones. So that's personal monitoring stuff you have to factor in.
Yeah, yeah. Sky.
I'm so grateful that the educators have found and made time to come here. I just am kind of anxious. How can we honor their showing up in the room? And
absolutely, no, absolutely, and I appreciate that. Let's. So I hope EJ, we answered your question there on the in-ear monitors. If not, there's a lot of stuff in Discord about that. I don't know if anyone wanted to finish up a thought on that. Jeff, did you have a? Were you raising your hand, Jeff Francis?
When I see the term and hear the term in-ear monitors, I think primarily about earbuds, headphones you put in your ear that have a good seal, but I also think about the wireless side of things. So very often an in-ear monitor are for musicians who need to be on a stage moving. So there's also the wireless transmitter belt pack receiver part of the in-ear monitor, which we kind of talked about before.
And that's a whole nother can of worms there. Yes. Yeah. All right, so as Sky had mentioned, we are past the top of the hour here. We do have a few leftover questions from the others, so we're going to mix them in just to kind of keep things moving. So we'll just kind of run through all the questions, and if there are residue questions from the first hour or whatever, please keep putting your questions into Mukana. We'll get those answered, but we do want to welcome the folks who are joining the education afternoon or second hour, Chris and Tim and Bruce, and I see Michael. This is like romper room here. So if you guys want to just do a quick mic check, maybe with Mickey, just to do a freshen up there. If anybody needs a grab a smoke, feel free.
Alrighty, I guess we'll start off with Michael and then move on to Chris Clark.
All right. Good morning, everyone, from San Francisco. And today I'm on an SM7B. So I've changed the setup yet again, but looks like the levels are good, but I don't actually see the monitor moving. So I don't know if that's just my Zoom.
You're coming in just a tad bit low, maybe 3-4 dB low.
Just a tad bit low. All right, I'll bump it up. But yeah, my WLM box is just stuck, which is very interesting. No one else seems to be stuck.
Let me just refresh turn off my WLM, start it back up. How about now? Is it registering?
Let's see. It moved around, so something happened, but no, it still looks like it's static at well, it looks perfect right now, but it's not moving. So
I think that's just you, Michael.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Interesting.
You're coming in maybe a dB or two too hot now, so just nudge down the
All
tiniest
right,
bit.
got
But
it.
we'll move on to Chris Clark and then Tim McKean afterwards.
Good morning. This is Chris Clark calling in from Tempe, Arizona, where fall has begun half-heartedly. The temperatures are way down in the high 70s at 5 in the morning. So we just love it. We think we need to shop for down jackets to get ourselves through the winter is coming.
Yeah. Right. Chris, do you have level control there on your end?
Repeat that, please. Your audio incoming audio is quite weak for me.
Do you have level control there on your end? Chris?
I lost the audio there for a sec.
Oh, can you hear us now?
Yes.
Right. Do you have level control there on your end?
Yeah.
On your mic. So if you can just give us the tiniest nudge up.
Up. Okay.
Yeah, on your microphone.
Okay, I've nudged it up and now it's
that
a
sounds
little
good.
bit higher.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Tim and then Bruce afterwards.
I'll echo Chris's sentiment of the weather cooling down a little bit here in Arizona. We're down from the 110s to the 102s. So all of a sudden everybody's outside.
Right, you're coming in pretty hot there, Tim. So if you could see our meters, our goal is to hit -20 on that number on the upper left.
Sure. Where was I hitting? I wasn't watching the meter.
You're hitting around -15, 14.
Okay, sorry about that. How's
No
that sound
worries.
now? Better?
Give us like 45 seconds of continuous speech.
Sure. I'm teaching and working at ASU, where we are trying to figure out some of this online learning and making some adjustments for the finals schedule.
Okay, give us a bit more again. Go back up a little bit, maybe 2 dB up.
Having good success with using Q&A tools and asynchronous interactivity.
Yeah, maybe another 1 or 2 dB and we should be good.
All right.
But we'll move on to Bruce and then Peter afterwards.
Okay, good morning from Naples, Florida. Everybody's been talking about the weather. We have beautiful sunshine here. The one problem is for getting out and playing golf, it rains every afternoon. So it's a bit of a problem. But it's
all right. Bruce, do you have control of your levels?
I do. Yes. What do you need?
Right, so just give us a slight bump down.
Down. Okay.
Yeah, tiny bump down.
How does that sound? Is that better? Did I go down too far or is that good? I can't see the meter from where I am, so I can't really tell.
I think we're in good shape.
Okay, great.
Right, thank you very much, Peter.
Okay, hi.
Ooh, we have chroma green madness going on.
Sorry, I'm too loud. Okay.
No, you have a green on green.
Oh yeah, I know. I messed up this morning. Still sleepy, wearing a green shirt in front of a green
yeah, we
screen.
can have you turn down a little bit.
Yes, I can go down a little bit. Better now. Oh, it keeps jumping up, funnily enough. It let me go down somewhere else. I'm still struggling with finding the right place to turn something down. Oh, I can see myself in the red here. It's better now. I keep talking. Green dress, green screen, silly thing. I had a course in the morning and I was a floating head.
Maybe just the tiniest nudge down some more and we should be good. Yeah. Just a tiny nudge down and then watch out for the position of your mic because we're getting some breath noise.
Okay.
So maybe just
maybe like that. And so I'm now a nudge down. Maybe that's better.
I think
Okay,
we're good.
wonderful.
Thank you very much. Phil?
Great. Excellent. Okay. So again, thanks for the folks that are just joining us. We're going to have a focus on education, but we're still going to hit some general media questions as well. We're just going to kind of take them as they come in Mukana. So if you've got other issues or questions, by all means, throw them in Mukana, ask away, and vote them up. So we'll just continue our way. And so we'll start off with A question from Chris Clark. He's saying Arizona schools are near the end of the first marking period, first quarter of mostly online schooling, discovering lots of ways that all online is not working for some students. For example, young procrastinators are in trouble. In the old days, teachers could detect and nudge. So are there any other discoveries that folks are having as far as education in the in the online world? I think I think I'm seeing this myself from a education spans a wide age, but my 12-year-old definitely needs a lot of detecting and nudging, and is probably not getting as much of that as he would typically have gotten. So that's kind of falling on my shoulders. The only trick really for a parent is that I don't really know exactly where he's supposed to be. So I can nudge only certain, unless I'm going to sit through the classes with him. I don't really, really know until he's missed an assignment whether or not he's really missing. You know what I mean? So any other thoughts on that, Sky?
I'd love some recommendations from teachers, because as I have stated in the past, I wanted to be involved, but I didn't understand the tools to do that. And then also I was criticized for being a helicopter parent. So help me understand where, as a person, parent, caregiver, whatever, is not trained in teaching, wants to participate, what is the engagement with the teacher in relationship to the student, relationship to the time that I can spend? And I'd love that from the teacher's perspective.
Yeah. Any thoughts there?
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
This is again, I have a daughter who has an interesting experiment, because she just spent 2 weeks of asynchronous teaching after 3 or 4 weeks of synchronous teaching, or I'm sorry, in-person teaching. Got to get my terms right here. And the experiment is kind of what Chris was relating to, is some of the parents didn't ask their children to engage once they went to asynchronous teaching. And so the most frustrating thing for my daughter was the fact that she actually, until the students showed up on Monday face to face again, had no idea if some of these kids had been working on anything. They just weren't engaging. And to be honest, she's in a district where some of the kids, one kid, and I'm not disclosing anything, but one kid said she had to go to grandma's house and use grandma's cell phone as a hotspot in order just to get the emails and to communicate. But she did it. She made the effort to go to grandma's house, somehow connect up. I don't know if she had used her Chromebook or what, and got back to the teacher and gave the feedback there. But that just tells you how difficult it was for her to just download, the assignments and stuff in asynchronous mode.
Right. It's tricky. Yeah. Tim.
Certainly, it's becoming more of a different role in the way that we communicate with parents, where before in classroom, we gave a lot of information to kids and hoped that it went home. We know it didn't go home very well, but as long as we were able to constantly reinforce with the kids, it didn't matter that all the information didn't always go home. I think now it's more and more important that we do have a open door policy, or a great communication relationship with whoever is at home supporting, because it really is, whether that's correct and right or not, we really are relying on a lot of home support parents or caregivers or whoever it is that's there filling that role to be a part of the learning experience. So learning how to embrace that person and how to communicate well with that person is going to be really important. I know one of the schools here has for every lesson, the students have to get on a one-to-one call with the teacher. It's just a 10-15 minute check-in. Do you have any questions? How are things going? And they have to do that for every module. So that's really helping to serve as some of those check-ins as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important, that the human interaction, especially with the teacher. Yeah, Bill.
Bill, in a 30 per student class, that means you got 300 extra minutes that you're having to devote to this. That's got to drive you a little. I mean, just in terms of the logistics of teaching, that's an incredible burden to face.
Right. But it's not extra if you are doing other things asynchronously. And I think that's the challenge for most teachers, is treating some of these things not as extra, but as replacing one thing or another.
That's the lesson.
It's a puzzle game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Chris Clark, did you have your hand up, or?
Yes, thanks. One bit of advice from the perspective of grandpop is I think it's useful for educators today to think about this year, frankly, as an experiment, as a work in progress. Usually the fall is, we got so ready, we spent hours in the classroom making the space pretty and attractive and welcoming, and we spent hours and hours building community face to face with our students, whether they're doctoral students or kindergartners. And that was the foundation for the rest of the year, really. This year, this fall, way different. And even 20 or 30-year veteran teachers are in their first year of teaching. A lot of us are learning as we go and staying a half a step ahead or a half a step behind where we feel we ought to be for tomorrow's interaction, whatever form that takes. So if you embrace that idea that we're all doing the first pilot test of a way that things are, then I think it's useful to label it as such, rather than saying, oh my goodness, everybody's losing ground, or only the rich kids or the kids with high-speed internet or with grandma's hotspot are going to survive and all the rest are going to be left in the dust. Let's reframe it as this is a participatory experiment. We're going to get smarter. We should back off some of the unreasonable expectations that we're going to be able to hit all the first quarter grade markers and that it's going to be on your permanent record and all the rest of this stuff that got carried in from the good old days. And say, look, and it's not the parents' responsibility to make this system work. It's not the child's responsibility to make it work. It's all of our responsibility to make it work a little bit better. And then by Thanksgiving, it's going to work a little bit better, and so forth. So it's we have the potential to relieve some of the unreasonable expectations that we're placing upon ourselves.
Right. I think you're right. I know personally, it's like, it's very hard to blame anybody for any of this. But specifically in education, I don't expect teachers are going to have the right answers and parents are going to have the right answers, or administrations are going to have the right answers. It's definitely, it's a trial and thing. And I guess the technologist in me feels like I certainly could see a piece of software that could help us manage a lot of this better, but no one's ever had the motivation or the inclination to build that as of yet, and maybe that is now. But in the meantime, we're all doing the best we can, and hopefully you guys aren't feeling, personally responsible from parents. I think that would be a terrible thing, or students or anyone, So anyway. I'll keep moving. So Guy.
Yeah, there was some new software that was announced. It's in beta. It's from a site called Class for Zoom, and it has some of the cool stuff that Zoom's lacking. And it's actually not just a third party. It's some of the founders of Zoom, or some of the early investors are involved in this project. And a couple of things that I noticed was, one is this starring program. I don't know if when you guys were in elementary, you get like stars on the board for doing good stuff. So it's kind of like the raise hand feature, but they put stars. And then the other thing was greater than average talk time, average amount of talk time. So it actually put a little yellow, green, or red bounding box around people that are maybe could use a little more attention.
Yeah, I saw that in another piece of software, a Zoom overlay software, where it measured your participation by how much time you talked. And I really don't like that at all. I don't feel like that's a good metric for whether or not we're having a good conversation. I mean, obviously, I'm a person that likes to talk, and I don't mind talking if no one else is, but I also don't feel like the measure of a good conversation is to make sure we all had the exact same number of minutes spoken. that's not necessarily communication. You know, sometimes I'll sit there a whole show and just listen because I don't have anything, you know, to contribute, and I want to hear and absorb, and that to me is a successful show. So anyway, I just had to say that. Anyway, Sky.
Well, to Chris's point, I'm pondering community that we have become. I'm pondering our loss of Mike, and yet we are still among the living, and we are still trying to figure something out. So that was my philosophical thing to throw into the conversation, that we're trying to make it better. But Chris, that you flipped the script on embracing the journey in the moment. I've used the word liminal in the past, but living in the moment. And the other pondering I'm having is from the teachers is, what is the Parent Teacher Association, the PTA? How can we possibly teach, parents teaching parents how to do this, because their empathy level is going to be a lot higher. Michael's got he's ready to bust. He's going to have it all the answer, Michael.
No,
Go ahead, do it. Yeah.
No, I have much less experience on the parent side, which is depending on how you look at it, either one of the drawbacks or advantages of teaching college students. I'm also not one myself, so I'm going to try not to say too much there. But to Guy's point, and I think to Phil's point, just on the software side, I mean, I'm dying for better educational software, but you know, I think a lot of our biggest challenges are the fact that none of us have done this before. Where I mean, you know, most of us teaching online haven't taught online before, but also none of us have done 2020 before, just as a point of life.
Right.
Which thankfully we haven't. It's not a regular occurrence in our lives. And so I think as much as we're yearning for better software, a lot of it is just recognizing that the process, the experience as a whole, is something that we're all, you know, collectively figuring out. Sky, to your point, you know, I think given how different every school district is and every bit of experience, you know, just asking one or two of your kids' teachers, what can I do to be helpful, is, you know, a really useful thing. And then in terms of training other parents, I think we're all pretty comfortable with technology compared to the average person, and every school will have a different system. Many of which are more complicated than necessary, but none of them are things that we can't figure out. And so, you know, to that extent of being able to find, how do I look up as a parent what my students', you know, homework due dates are, which most school systems provide some kind of a thing for parents to find that information. And then, you know, the same way that we've done for Zoom, of writing up a quick Google Doc or something, of condensing that information and sharing out with others, could go a long way as well.
And to me, that's my coffee challenge. I want to make that video.
Yeah.
So, and what eventually, Michael, I want to find out what your definition of better is. But these are there are people, there are other people that have their hands up. I'll show.
So yeah, so let's go ahead, Tim, and then Bruce, and then we'll kind of wrap this up.
Just as we found value in this kind of community, I think if schools created and supported communities for parents just to talk with each other and compare notes. I see this going on informally in Facebook and other places like that, with, you know, parents saying, hey, this worked today, or this didn't work, or here's how we solved this problem. If the schools embraced that and just made that part of the program, is here's our, you know, our parent chat, you know, every night this Zoom room is open for parent chat, I think a lot of people would make use of that.
Yeah, all right, so I'm going to blow my Bruce. I'm going to come to you in just a second, but I'm going to negate my moving on thing, because I think what you're saying is interesting. This idea of letting parents in, like, I know my school system is kind of hesitant to having parents having an organized group where we're talking offline. They really don't want that to happen. And I can totally understand why. You could get a pitchfork mob in a second, you know, against an administration by having an uncontrolled group of angry parents or confused parents even. And but in this time, it really feels like there ought to be some forum where we can talk to each other in some kind of an organized fashion. And I'm missing that dearly. I mean, right now, our only option is a Facebook group, which I will not participate on because
and school districts have been fighting the whole idea of social networking and that back channel since the early 2000s.
Right.
And there's no point in fighting it. Embrace it, bring it in so that you can at least know what they're talking about.
I know, and I
address
know
the
they're
concerns.
strapped. for time, and they're working 24/7 just to figure out what next week is going to look like. And I get it, and they're pulled thin, but there's got to be some way for us to help as a group, or at least help each other as a group. And
Such a
you know,
shame that it's such a shame that the bars are closed.
right, exactly.
Well, you think about all the chit chat and all the casual talk that used to happen during pickup and drop off and all those other things.
Yeah.
Those conversations were already taking place and now they can't. And so providing a place for them to
doing
take place.
monitor your kids' homework assignments? I just need to know that. And I would love to, and other moms are busy, but I got, you know, so I'm very frustrated about that. I feel like I want to just start my own office hours for my school district, just to say, you know,
Phil,
yeah,
I
go
give
ahead,
I give you permission.
Thank you.
By the power that I have none, but other than this team here, you
Right.
are ordained to make it happen. Go forth and make
Thank
it
you.
so.
I feel empowered, Sky. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Bruce, go ahead.
Now that I got in here, actually, my point may not even be relevant anymore. It grows out of what Chris was saying before about looking for things that are happening experimentally. And my area, of course, is with doctoral students, people working on their dissertation. So it's a far end of the educational spectrum. But one of the things I've noticed, two things actually that I've noticed, is that the excuses I get for people not completing their work and moving along at the speed that I remember when I went through my doctorate as being important is that, well, I'm involved in COVID problems at work. And that's a common reason for people who I see spending large amounts of money to not make progress. And it's a worrisome dimension. On the total opposite end of it, another thing I have discovered among especially a couple of my students is that they're using the pandemic as ways of modifying their research and incorporating this new factor into the sort of thing that they're studying so that it'll actually make their research much richer. So it's a very interesting time to see changes and everything being different.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, my comment doesn't really fit what we've just been talking about, but it came a little late. So
it's fine. Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, Peter.
So around here, these discussions between parents and teachers happen in what you probably call, I think, PTO or PTA. It's really groups of parents getting together once a month or so, just discussing what's going on in the school. And I was like a speaker for the class where my kid was in at the time. And my impression always was that I would like to keep the parents out as much of school as possible. I mean, we had discussions there with parents coming saying, the kids don't have enough homework. Please give the kids more homework.
Right.
And on the other hand, there were parents saying, we need less homework. The kids are totally freaked out and stressed out and it's a really difficult. And the point is that parents have a totally different idea about what school is and what learning is than what we all share here and what we should have.
Yeah.
So getting the parents to participate in the design of how teaching works now is backwards. I think it doesn't work. We need sorry, one more sentence.
Go ahead,
the problem now is that schools are also totally incompetent in making these decisions, and I frankly don't have a way out. We really need something radical.
It's a classic example of design by committee. You know, you're never going to get a solid product when you get the more voices you get in the actual design of anything, the more screwed up it's going to be. So, you know, but yeah. Okay, Bill. Go ahead.
This is weird and it's me, but I can't get the vision of that grandmother the child trying to go to grandma to get on the cell phone to get even the most basic information back and forth. And it kind of tears my heart out a little. And it makes me think, I almost wish that school districts started thinking, one part of administration started thinking about student recovery, getting to some of these kids who, for whatever reason, are going to fall through the cracks, and we know they're going to fall through the cracks, and some sort of a system for trying to bring those children back in to the system, because if not, we're going to have a generational hole, and it's going to be real tough.
All right. I promise we're going to wrap this up right after Mike. Go ahead, Mike. Finish it up.
Okay, so as a parent of 4 teenagers, I kind of feel like, the PTA has been replaced by my own version of PTSD. It's unbelievable. They sent us home with these Chromebooks, and I had my network locked down with the Circle, and nothing worked on the Circle. So I had to remove everything from the Circle, and suddenly my kids, it's like Lord of the Flies in my house now on their Chromebooks. They can watch anything on YouTube they want to watch. And just for giggles, I grabbed one of them and I tried to see if Pornhub loaded, and holy shit. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, we're going to keep it clean, Mike.
did.
We get
I
it.
mean,
We get
yeah,
it.
I know.
All right,
but
we're
it's
really going to get in
horrible.
trouble by Alex if we don't monitor that. So let's
Okay,
watch it.
okay.
But we get it. There's
Yeah.
growing pains with the Chromebooks. I get it. It's growing pains all over the place, and teachers are feeling it. Administrations are feeling it. We got to figure it out together.
But what
Yeah.
do you do? What do you
Right.
do?
Yeah. Yeah. That's tricky. I get it.
Yeah.
You might try a good DNS service that can do
Yeah.
some of that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, all right. So let's move on here. We'll bring up some more of these issues and some of these upcoming questions. In no particular order, Tony from Missouri asking, what kind of audio drops out in iOS 14.01 when my screen goes black? Is there a setting I need to change to prevent this from happening? I don't know. This is a Mukana issue that's happening. I don't know. You might ask that in Discord unless anybody else has any thoughts on that. Yeah, Michael Ball. Yeah.
I don't know about the Makana issue specifically, but in iOS 14, one of the things you can do now is have picture-in-picture mode for any kind of website. So you might actually try to load the desktop YouTube version,
Oh, that's
either
interesting. I
through
wonder if that'll work.
Mukana
Yeah.
or just YouTube directly, and you'll have the picture-in-picture thing, but it's actually a pretty, finally feature, at least for myself. And the desktop app will work on the phone. It's just going to be kind of a compressed view, but you could certainly load it.
Yeah, Roscoe.
Yeah, and the exact same thing with Zoom. Just go ahead and log into this, Zoom meeting, and then use Makana to talk while you're on your device.
Yeah, Mickey, did you have a thought or no? No.
Yeah, I saw some discussion, I think, on Discord about iOS 14 shutting off audio coming from a website if you put your phone to sleep or if you go to another app. And I think it's an iOS thing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll kind of keep monitoring that. All right. So Bruce Francis, one of your questions here. Education is not known for its comfort with change. That's one of the things we were just talking about. How have teachers and administrators been dealing with the abruptness and the speed of changes during the pandemic? I think, it goes along with everything we were just talking about, but Bruce, if you had any other thoughts about that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Roscoe?
Actually, it's a funny comment. The administrators dealt with it by coming down with COVID, which shut down the whole school.
Yeah, blame the administrators. Yeah, that's great. Michael?
Speaking of higher ed, I think it's really dependent upon where you are exactly. I think the thing that is, sort of warming at least, is that a lot of us are finding the places where things might work despite giving up what we thought was necessary beforehand. And I do consider that to be, a really big success. And so I think more and more, at least like on Berkeley's campus, a lot of people who would never have tried something asynchronous or who never sort of thought about putting their lecture recordings online before are warming up to things like that. And so I think that's pretty promising. I do worry that we sometimes might over-index on sort of the failures and attribute them entirely to, online XYZ and not necessarily to a lack of planning or a global pandemic or, any of the other conflating factors that are going on in this experiment.
Right.
And so that's, I think, one of the hard takeaways is when something goes wrong, I have 50 reasons why it could have gone wrong, and it's not exactly clear which one.
It's always the administration's problem. Yeah. Fault. All right. Moving on here. I'm sorry, Jeff Francis.
Tim.
Phil, I'm wondering if we can put the Discord link in again for educators that came late. Is that possible?
Yeah, sure. Let me work on that while we're doing the next question.
Okay.
And just
if you do, would you give a description about what it is as well when you introduce it?
Yeah, I'll do that. Definitely. Thanks. Yeah. Somebody indicating something else?
Tim also had his hand up.
Tim. I don't see Tim.
Yeah, I was just saying that that goes
Oh, yeah.
along with another upcoming question about scope creep too. This idea of figuring out what our priorities are, I think, is an important part of this conversation. And I was listening to an interview with a university president talking about how they decided to make the decisions that they've made in recent weeks. And she said, first we had to do was to identify and highlight our values. And once you have your values identified, every decision is easy to make because you know exactly why you're making that decision. And I think it goes back to something that Chris was saying earlier. If teachers can give themselves permission to let go of some of the traditional expectations and identify their values and identify their priorities and hit those priorities every day, then that's gonna lead toward a direction that's more sustainable, both as far as scope creep and as far as the suddenness of change.
Yeah, Roscoe.
Yeah, unfortunately, most states have requirements that they expect the students to learn while they're in certain grades, and those teachers are struggling because how do I progress my student through that? Again, in my specific case, my daughter with math in 7th grade, and she's frustrated. She goes, because we're not advancing, she's not going to be able to get through what they expect her to get through by the end of the school year because things.
But do you really expect that any of those states are going to uphold those expectations this year? I don't.
But a teacher's not empowered to just break them on, because it probably won't be expected.
When they get federal funding to meet those markers. So it's a catch-22 and again full of bullets.
It is, and she's a young teacher too, so she's depending on those metrics to tell her exactly what she should be doing. So as an experienced teacher, sure, you say this is a wipe-off year, but just understand those expectations are still out there.
Yeah, Chris Clark.
I agree with what Tim and Roscoe are pointing out, that getting trapped in the expectation of quote unquote last year or the year before state expectations is a losing game. It's not going to end well for the teachers, for the parents, for the kids. But one little trick that even a new teacher might try is to jump to the end. In other words, what's the cumulative expectation of the state or the school district, and try to do something about that now, instead of the incremental approach that says, well, the 7 things that we learn in the second week of September are all going to be remembered and added up, and they're going to enable us to navigate across the Pacific in May. Well, that's a flawed model. Let's start with the navigate across the Pacific now, and then fumble it, and then try again in November and fumble it a little bit less, and so forth and so on. So that look at the end state that you're hoping for at the end of the school year, and start trying to do a successive approximations of that now, and I think you're much more likely to get there.
Right, Sky.
I'm feeling your conundrum, Phil. We have 9 questions in 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, we'll speed it up. I know I'm kind of trying to keep a relative pace with educational things, but appreciate it. Yeah. And this is, we're flowing into the other question that we had posted here from Craig about asking teachers to do both online and in person, and is that scope creep? I know in our administration, they're not asking people to do both, or if they are, they're being very present about asking the teachers not to put in 15-hour days where they were doing 8-hour days. That's highly regulated in our area. So it's more like they're reducing their scope on the in-person teaching if they're also expected to do a virtual class. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing scope creep where they're overburdening their teachers. Is that something that you're seeing at all, Michael?
Yeah, on the higher ed side, it really depends. I think in some ways, some of the basic scope creep, which is not even, I mean, it's necessary, but even just the aspect of, how you might plan out your semester, taking an existing in-person course and delivering that online, is in many aspects, designing a new experience in course. And for most of our educators, it's also just the time that it takes to learn new tools and approaches. And so, I wouldn't put that in scope creep, but I would put that in, these are many hours that do need to be recognized as necessary for everyone to do their jobs. And so, to then do your job well, that requires either cutting or sacrificing from somewhere else, since time is not infinite. If you are teaching, hybrid and in person, I do think it's very real that some people are doubling things up. And as we've all discussed for probably the past few months, how much more difficult hybrid is than committing one way or the other.
Right.
And so I think it is just mindful that anyone who is in the decision-making body of hybrid or in person is, that we give them as much information as possible as to how much extra work that process is. Because until you've thought through it, I don't think people realize,
Right.
how much worse, that could be. And they should be asking, of course, but
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we are going to pick it up a little bit more. We've got a couple of quickies here. So Molly Rutland from Washington asks, what are the headsets a lot of us are wearing? It's a Pile microphone. There's a link that we can put in Mukana quickly if anyone else is wearing anything other than a Pile microphone on the headsets. Yeah, Roscoe?
Well, I broke Alex's rule, and I actually put the link for the one we're all buying right now into the the Mukana.
Do we
For
know she was
educators.
concerned with headset microphones and not necessarily had earbuds?
Yeah, it's a microphone
Correct.
question.
The link is for the Polson.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what she's seeing. So, and then the follow-up question here is, I'm going to put this one in also. This is a loaded question. Everybody has a one-sentence answer that wants to answer. Anyone have a favorite mic review site? Curtis Judd or Both Junkie question, or Booth? I think that's Booth Junkie. Yeah. So anyone have any mic review sites they like? Yes, Bill Davis.
I'm going to say be careful of that. And here's why I'm saying that. Most of those kind of microphone review things are looking for very high-end assessments of clarity of microphones. The human voice is not that complicated a signal to capture and put with enough clarity into the internet so that everybody can hear what you're saying. You will notice that a lot of people here have $9 microphones, and some of us have couple $100 microphones, and I've even used $1,000 microphones. They all work fine. So just be careful not to get into those microphone sites and think that the only way you can play is by tossing out a lot of money at the problem. That will not be the solution.
But it'll be a lot of fun. Mickey.
Yeah, with what Bill was saying, of course, it depends on what you're trying to do. For teaching or just meetings, an affordable mic will get the job done. But most of the time, not every time, for broadcast situations, you might want to go with something with more detail. In terms of sites that I go to that I trust for reviews, there's Sound on Sound, there's Production Experts. Gear Sluts is always good, but you really have to dig deep and read. I mean, that's true with any site. You really have to read, but Gear Sluts, you kind of have to dig in.
And that is SLUTZ at the end.
Great.
Yes, thank you.
Sky.
Posting in Makana a Zacuto that did a shootout in 2012 about cameras, and it allowed you to see how to best judge different tools in a similar situation. So I know it's not a mic related question, but it's a way to evaluate better. So
Right.
it's in the chat.
Thanks. Okay. Peter posted a question here. Curiosity and tinkering brought me to a place where I can now trigger ATEM mini macros with virtually anything. Right now I have an Apple TV remote and an old Wii remote connected. Is this of interest to anybody here? I'd say yes, absolutely. First of all, in Discord, we've got an automation and a section where I absolutely share any of your tips. And then it might be also interesting to post that into our second hour ideas because Alex is often looking for people to, talk about some of the deeper dives they're doing. So I would say, let's put that in there. And I think it would be very interesting to a lot of us for sure. Thank you, Peter. Craig Hibbard, educational question. Is there a big difference between letting parents vent and letting parents make education decisions? Has there been any attempt to differentiate the two? I'm sure there's been a lot of attempt to differentiate the two. I think, success, I don't know. Anyway, Roscoe.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the great function of a PTA. You know, the parents then organize, get together, communicate, and then just one or two people actually talk to the administration. Every parent talking to the administration does not work.
Right. It needs to be filtered and sort of summarized for sure. Yeah, Chris Clark.
Yeah, this circles back to Peter's cautionary tale about multiple points of view among parents and then many of them being irreconcilable. I think the real value isn't so much in making changes to the way we do schooling as it is parents clarifying and even discovering the range of ideas and opinions and values that are present in their community, so that hearing yourself express your sense of the direction we ought to be going in is a powerful relief of anxiety and confusion, or even negative judgment about the other guys, those crazy conservatives or those crazy liberals that you're worried are going to take over the system. Once you recognize that we're all people too, trying to figure this out in ways that can kind of get us through to November, it makes for it defuses what could otherwise be an escalating drama.
Right. A forum is a potent tonic. Michael Ball.
Yeah, this is something that we also see, especially in higher ed with student surveys, where at the end of a course, it's pretty common that students, rate hopefully the course itself and not the instructor, but it usually turns out to be, the instructor. But, the having something that allows people to vent is a valuable tool, in that it's just, done healthily, it's valuable. But like every sort of survey mechanism, I think you have to take the results as a whole, and hearing from parents that there's too much homework in one place and too little in another lets you as the teacher, sort of hear those opinions and hopefully balance something out, in which case a lot of times it's just, two people on both ends means that you're probably somewhere in a healthy middle spot. But it's valuable that you hear both, right? Because you don't want the super loud voice kind of biasing your own views of how you're doing, or what other people might be thinking if it's not as relevant.
Right. Tim.
Michael's observation that evaluating an instructor and evaluating a course are definitely two separate things, and we don't do a good job of separating those either. I often encourage faculty to put surveys in throughout the course, even at the end of one lesson. What was the most confusing thing in this lesson, or what was the most important thing you learned? So you're getting that kind of feedback throughout. And again, echoing my other comment earlier this morning, we probably need to be doing that same thing for parents throughout as well.
Right. Yeah. Good. All right, Lawrence Littlehale from Concord, North Carolina. Has anyone used the Sennheiser in-ear headsets? Several models list on Amazon under $100. I heard them mentioned in a positive light on a podcast. Anybody use that? Yeah, Bill.
Sennheiser is a highly respected name in the audio community, been around for a long, long time. Most of their gear is very, very good. I will say, if you're going to be using in-ear particular earbuds, and if you are moving from a casual listener circumstance to I'm in class or somewhere every day, pay attention to the hygiene of anything you put in your ear over the course of a long period of time. I used to use a little foam earbud, but actually when I started with office hours, I found that wearing that 3-4 hours a day was building up so much humidity, and I started getting small itches and things like that, to the point where I said, wait a second, this is wrong. So I completely changed my hygiene earbud protocol to be careful about cleaning them over and over again. So just add that into your repertoire if you're going to use in-ears.
Good. Mickey.
Yeah, Sennheiser in ears. If you don't have the ones that are under 100 the US at least, if you don't have to do critical listening, or if you don't have to process audio, EQ, and really have to monitor something that is if you don't have to monitor something that's accurate, then yeah, they'll do just fine. They sound great for, especially for music. But once you have to do actual like media production work, I would step up to something that is seen to be more accurate in terms of response.
Depends on your use, for sure. Guy, did you have anything else you wanted? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I'm using those Sennheiser in-ear monitors, or the IE40s, or the ones that come with the stock set for the wireless. They used to be 99 bucks. They're now $79, and they
Nice.
sound okay. They're not like some crazy nice stuff, but they
Yeah.
work.
You're using the wireless monitor?
No, I'm not using wireless.
You're just
I'm
using the earbud
just,
from it.
Yep.
I got you. Cool. Excellent. Okay. So Rajan Shandil from Los Angeles. Has anyone edited Insta360 footage? Wanting to purchase, but not sure my Mac Pro can handle it inside of Final Cut Pro X. Sounds like a Fenwick question. I don't know. Or somebody. Anyone? No? Maybe. Yeah. Bill?
Well, I haven't used Insta360 specific stuff, but I will tell you that 10 is built on a platform that can handle a lot of even relatively complex video throughput without choking too much. It's one of the best things out there for different kinds. There are some interframe compression formats that anything is going to have trouble with if you're asking your playback box, your computer, your laptop, whatever, to both decode and playback and then re-encode on the fly. So I'm not saying it's going to always be great, but Final Cut Pro 10 is very good at what you throw at it, it plays.
Yep. Paul?
Yes, actually, if Alex was here, he would say Final Cut Pro 10 is great for doing 360 because he uses it for that.
Yeah.
And it can handle titling and all that sort of stuff in the 360 view.
Yeah, Rajan, I would definitely say bring that question back up again when Alex is here. He probably has some opinion as well on that because he's got some expertise in that. All right. Yeah, Bill, one more thing, quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I completely forgot. They bought out Dashwood Cinema Systems. Apple did. Tim went to work for Apple, and he was one of the gurus for 360 stuff. And when they bought him out and brought him into the fold, his 360 tools, which were some of the leading, got folded into Final Cut Pro 10. So it has extraordinarily robust 360 handling by default in the basic package.
Nice. Thanks. James Babbitt from San Diego. Any recommendations for a camcorder to record in candlelight in a house of worship setting? Low light recording from a camcorder. Anyone? Sky?
The DSLR, the Sony A7S, I think. It sucks light out of next week. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, Mickey?
Yeah, most of the time for productions, like if there's a candlelit scene, it's not really only lit by candlelight. It is motivated by candlelight, yes, but you have other lights there that are working, building upon that and making it look actually nice.
Nice. Bill?
Starting with the Sony A series, the ability of sensors to capture light, even really low levels of light, started exploding. And I think exponentially, almost all of the modern camcorders or cameras, DSLRs, are so much better at low light than they ever were before. So the Canons and the Sonys all can do pretty miraculous things, even in candlelight today.
Nice. Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, so obviously the A7S is incredible low light, but I think the question was specifically around camcorder. So I'm wondering if anyone.
Yeah, I think we kind of missed a little bit. Camcorder low light. Yeah, I don't know of which camcorders in particular excel at that. Michael?
I don't know of camcorder specifically, but I would just make the general point that if you're kind of researching to pay attention to sensor size, and in terms of light gathering ability, the sensor size itself will be one of the first factors that will give you a good approximation. Of course, there's plenty of ranges, but if you're trying to decide between, where to start looking, that would be a good place to look at.
Yeah, great. Bill Davis?
And don't forget that as you get low light, you get bigger apertures. As you get bigger apertures, you get shallower depth of field. So you could be fighting this constant battle. If you don't have enough light, you can have literally sometimes inches or maybe a foot of depth of field, and everything outside of that is out of focus.
Sure. Roscoe?
And give up resolution. Give up on resolution and go for an old 1080p camera because the larger pixels and all that will help.
Nice. Okay, loaded question from Michael Ball through Sky. What is your definition of good software? Wow, that's
no,
not
actually
a loaded question.
that's specific to Michael. Earlier he said something about what he would like would be good software. So I'm trying to get a definition of good.
What is your definition of good food?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, specifically into, I guess, education. You had an ideal. I'm trying to find out what
Yeah.
is it achievable.
Yeah, is my ideal achievable? That's a question that I've been struggling with because I spend a lot of my time building tools as well, which is one of the fun slash dangerous pitfalls of being able to write code. You end up having to maintain it. The thing that I think that like educational software keeps getting better all the time, and so the tale of progress is promising. The challenge that I have is that every situation, whether that's a particular teacher's classroom at a school or to assume, two different schools across the country, whether that's rural and urban, large and small, higher ed, K-12, really have a different set of needs, and trying to capture uh, all the uh, all the needs into one software package is really what makes most of the tools that we're stuck with using really difficult. Conversely, though, a institution picking 5 or 6 different tools to host, its different set of classes also becomes a burden for students and IT staff. And so, it's the classic triangle where you have 3 sides and you have to pick 2 to make your compromises. I feel like in educational software right now we've got 20 different sides and we're trying to pick like 5 of them. And so generally that's it. But I do think if anything in 2020, the experimentation and the rapid development of software has been a really useful thing. I mean, Zoom wasn't designed for education, but we've gotten so many features in the past 6 months that have been really promising. I mean, the stuff that has even come just in the past week about like letting students, self-manage their breakout rooms is huge. And this is one of those things where I'd put, just a caution or value in software, which is giving students their own agency to make those decisions, especially when you have an older, set of students and, middle school and up where they have the ability to manage that stuff on their own. Software really should try to empower what students and teachers can do rather than give them some definitional metric where that's the only thing you're beholden to.
Yeah.
So we need a knob for attitude adjustment. I love it.
Okay. All right. Just gonna Bill, quickly.
Okay, I was just going to say it's you got to know who the customer is, and then you're designing. Good software is one that takes care of the customer's needs, and that doesn't take care of everybody's needs. Understands who's going to use it, and then works to make it dependable and serving those needs.
Right. It's a deep philosophical. We could talk for hours on that one issue.
Yeah, it was an unfair question.
That's all right. No, it's fine. Good. Vincent Alvarez, can I give AV professionals I know an ad that describes office hours, or at least a well-crafted, nicely worded email? I think that's something that's in the works. There is a link that you could copy out of your email that comes. There's a generic link. Make sure you get that one. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe I can put that in Mukana soon. Let me try on that one. Guy Cochran wants to know if we can key out Peter's shirt with an ATEM Mini. I believe you ought to be able to if you are. You got to earn your ATEM Mini.
Peter,
there you go.
How's that?
I like that.
Oh, what happened? He keyed it out himself.
I like that. Okay, nice floating head.
I actually did that by just pressing a button on the Wii remote just to show that what I'm capable of now.
What
And
part
I
of Mars
can
are
move
you
myself
on?
to the other side by pressing another button. Whoops, I'm there.
Oh,
And then
all
I
right.
can
So
go back.
just wrapping it up here. Anybody have any experience with the Canon EOS C70 yet? Anybody? That's a new one.
I don't think they're in the wild yet. I think
Yeah,
they're
I don't think
those
so.
C
Ask that again
units.
in a week or two. I'm sure you'll get. Yeah, Michael.
I mean, no experience, but I'm really excited to see the new R-mount glass making its way to cinema cameras and mirrorless devices. So the Red Komodo would be actually, I think, the first cinema device that I saw had a Canon R-mount. But the other really cool thing is if you use EOS R glass, they have a new native speed booster style adapter
Nice.
for RF glass to EF glass. So that will be really promising. Pricey, but promising.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see how that turns out. Last question here, Paul Shadwell. Anyone watch The Long Way Up on Apple TV? He's researching which gear they were using, as I would like to do something similar with a Harley group. Anybody know what gear they're using to shoot Long Way Up? Don't know.
fifth gear.
Yeah, exactly.
The answer is with Apple's budget, whatever they want.
Right. All right, everybody, we hit our mark. Thank you very much. Mickey, you can hit the music if you're still there. Thank you very much, everybody, for hanging in and sticking with us and waiting till the very end. We've got more education tomorrow. Alex will be back and hit those questions that we didn't have tomorrow. Make sure you're joining us on Discord 24/7, having a lot of fun there. Appreciate it, everybody.
Great
Take
job,
care.
Phil.
Build on the tight ship. We're on time.
Atomic 9.